Welcome to Nice and Blunt, everyone. Boy, today feels good. Almost, honestly, it kind of feels like my birthday. My birthday was on Tuesday, but as someone who's born so close to Christmas, you gotta get a little creative and celebrate on other days. Today, I'm very excited about. I got Chargers tickets. I cannot wait, and that's the reason why I'm doing this a little early. We want to make sure we get your lineup set before we go out there. And Bjorn, welcome to the chat. Welcome, Who Hames. Good to see you. Scott's in here. Good morning. Who Hames, what's up? And Bjorn with a quick question. Help me with the rest of my picks. Gibbs shit the season. Waddled. We need two receivers, one running back, one flex. I think I'm going to come back to this because this is a lot of information and I would like to get to some other stuff, but I'm leaning Gainwell, Warren as running backs. I'm also thinking we go Waddle and maybe for like a super big swing, Kyle Williams. But I'll get back to this later. I'll get back to this later. Yeah, Who Hames. Oh my God, like this is a playoff game. This is a playoff game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If the Chargers win out, they can get the 2 seed. They control their own destiny. They're actually live for the 1 seed. And I'll just let you know now, if the Chargers beat the Texans defense with their O-line, I'm going to pick them to go to the Super Bowl. I genuinely think they are going to be an AFC championship team. Not sure if they make it past the Bills. It's the Chargers after all. But the Chargers are good. Chargers are fucking good. So I'm stoked. Let's get to the start sits for today's games. Let's talk about it. Let's move on from the intro. So these are my start sits tonight. Let's do a quick breakthrough. I will show you all of my ranks after these 2 games. And so just stay tuned. Give me like 10 minutes to run through this, and then we'll go through every single position individually. But at least when it comes to these defenses, this is going to be a very low scoring game. Odds are this is a massive kicker fest. I believe Dicker and Fairbairn are both going to kick at least 4 field goals tonight. I genuinely think there's going to be a lot of field goals. I don't think they're going to convert in the red zone too often. These defenses are legit. The Texans are the worst matchup for quarterbacks on the season. Meanwhile, the Chargers rank bottom 3. Really tough spot for both QBs. Not ideal in the fantasy championship. For running back, we got a bottom 10 matchup against Houston. Same against the Chargers. The Chargers are slightly trending up, though. Let me confirm. Oh, no, I'm mistaken. They're trending dead last. In the last 4 weeks, the Chargers actually had the toughest run defense of them all. The Chargers are no joke. They're only giving up an average of 10.8 points per game to the running back position. So I'd be terrified of Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. I don't like that at all. And then against receiver, it does not get easier at all. The Texans are the second toughest matchup this season. We know they have a good secondary. And Derek Stingley is healthy this week. He didn't play last week, if I'm not mistaken. And getting him back is huge. But the Chargers are also, no joke, the 29th ranked wide receiver defense this year in fantasy. However, in the last month, that is trending up to neutral. It would rank 17th. So not as bad, but still not good. I think it's mainly a problem for quarterbacks who throw interceptions and stuff like that. Turnovers are a big problem, but receivers can still put up yards. They've been playing better as of late. Where there's at least one good matchup, the Texans against tight ends used to be a very tough spot. They are trending way up at the moment. In the last 4 weeks, the Texans tight end defense has allowed the 7th most fantasy points to the position. That's an average of 15.2 points per game to tight ends. So if there's one player I would consider giving an upgrade this week in this game, it would be Oronde Gadsden. The Texans tight end defense is the only vulnerable spot we have in this game. But the Chargers are trending up as well, but just not as high. They would rank 13th in the last month, but on the season 25th. So not as easy, but Dalton Schultz, I think, also kind of catches a break compared to every other position. I think tight end is the way to attack this game. Oronde Gadsden and Dalton Schultz, I think, will get the most reliable production, especially at that position. The bar is lower. I think those are the most compelling starts of this game. But let's get into the players I really want in my lineup. I think the Texans defense is a good start. But personally, I do rank the Chargers above them. I do think the Chargers will win. I do think the Chargers will force more turnovers, and I don't trust CJ Stroud as much as Justin Herbert. So I believe in the Chargers. I think their defense is a top 5 unit this week. And the Texans are right behind them, but a few spots below. I have them at number 6. The Chargers I have in the top 4. So I would rather go LA over Houston, but keep that bias in mind. Maybe you don't agree that the Chargers will win. Maybe you think differently, but I do think both defenses are very legit, very, very safe starts. Gonna be more of a low scoring game with a lot of field goals this afternoon rather than a shootout. Despite that, I think Nico Collins is just a lock in the lineup. I cannot think of a reason to reasonably bench him. And we do have one game in their history. Last year in the playoffs, these two teams played in the wild card, and Nico went off. Nico had 8 targets, 7 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. That's 21.7 points versus the Chargers in last year's playoff picture. So he's just always locked in the lineup. I can't picture you're benching him. It is a tough spot, but still, I don't think I'm going to care. I think I'm going to start my stud and plug in Nico Collins. I'm also going to start Omarion Hampton. This, I think, is the only reasonably okay spot other than tight end against the Texans, and especially with Kimani Vidal cropping up on the injury report this week. He missed practice twice. I do think Hampton will get more looks. Vidal is not ruled out. Perhaps it's a game time decision, but I do think Vidal will be active, but he barely practiced this week. I think Hampton will get the benefit in terms of the volume. I like him a lot. I also think his receptions are going to pay off. I think Hampton will contribute, especially in the checkdown department. But the only other player I want to start is Dalton Schultz in this game. I rank him in my top 10, and I do believe he will be putting up solid numbers. The Chargers in their last 4 games, the average stat line to the tight end position is this. They are giving up an average of 5.8 receptions per week, 60 yards per game, and then 2 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. So that's pretty good usage. I think the yards will be there. I think Schultz is going to go over 50 yards tonight. I believe he'll have 4 or 5 catches for roughly 50 yards. And then I think we're going to be good. But those are really the only players I trust. I think at every other position, it's not a good matchup. And ideally, I'd be trying to bench them. I don't think Woody Marks is a great play. I think he'll be fine. I think he can get you a touchdown. But without it, you're really going to struggle. I think he's just no better than a flex play. Not a great one. Not my favorite flex play. I have him ranked as my running back 27. That's kind of low in the flex rankings. I don't think he's an automatic start. I think odds are you're going to bench him, but if you're in a pinch, in the top 30 is fine. I think he's going to be on par with someone like Tyrone Tracy, Rico Dowdle, and Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving's been worse lately. I think Woody Marks will be in that category. I'm a little worried about touchdown, though. Not a guarantee. That's why he's just a flex. But QJ is also a risky play, high upside, but that Texans defense is legit. I do think they're going to focus a little more on Ladd McConkey, though, and that's why straight up I do have Quentin Johnston ranked above Ladd McConkey. They're very close together. I literally have them back to back, so it's not a huge gap, but I do think Quentin Johnston is the more appealing wide receiver for the Chargers. He just has so much dynamism, such a good athlete, and he's really come into his own this year. He's playing far better. And as long as he doesn't drop it, and now he's making one-handed catches, Quentin Johnston should be the best bet to find the end zone at receiver. But Herbert, I'm worried, doesn't score more than 1 touchdown this week. That's going to be a tough spot. That Texans defense is just so brutal. So worried about some interceptions. Last time he played them, we all remember that playoff game. It was his 4 interception game. And 2 of them were off his receiver's hands, but still he threw 4 picks. So that's the main concern. However, in that game, he did throw for 242 yards. Wasn't atrocious, but I do think that's the problem. I think they're going to settle for field goals. I think he'll get at least 1 interception, and it's just not the safest floor, no doubt, against Houston. But I do think he's the better quarterback of the 2 this week. I think the rushing yards will be there. I think he'll find a way, and that's why I think Herbert is still in the flex conversation, but not a good start in a 1 quarterback league, not in my top 10. He's actually outside my top 15. I have him actually behind Phillip Rivers, if you can believe that. I have him at QB 17, 1 spot behind Rivers. So good luck. Ideally, I'm going to bench him in a 1 quarterback league. I don't think it's a good spot this week. And Ladd, I think, will not benefit because of that. Last time he played Houston, that was also in the wild card game, he had 30 points. He had an insane game in the wild card round, but that was catch-up mode the entire time. He had 14 targets, 9 catches, 197 yards, and a touchdown. One of them was a house call in garbage time. I don't think that's going to happen. I would assume the Texans shut him down a bit better this time around. So Ladd, I don't think is a safe play. I have him in the low-end flex territory. I do have him behind Quentin Johnston. So good luck there. I think they're like barely top 35 receivers. Outside the top 30, I don't think they're locks in the lineup. But some upside for sure. There's a chance that Herbert does pay off. But odds are it's not going to work out with both. I think if I could only start one, give me QJ. But Ladd is right behind him, not far behind. And then Keenan could also pop off. Keenan actually has some contract incentives at the moment. And while there is 2 games left, he needs like 7 catches and like, I think 125 yards in these final 2 games to make a bunch of money. And I don't think they're going to force it this week with the playoffs on the line. But I do think in the next 2 weeks, he will have like a total of 7 or 8 catches. I think he'll be involved, but just not the safest upside. He's been kind of falling off lately. I think they're kind of saving him for the playoffs, to be honest. So not the week I'm trying to force in Keenan. I think I'd be a bit more embarrassed to have Keenan in my lineup than QJ or Ladd. I think of the 3, I would bench Keenan more vehemently than the others. But if there's one player I'm really enticed by, it's Oronde Gadsden, but he's been so bad lately, I don't think I can do it. However, the matchup is pretty good. It would rank top 7 in the last month. The Texans' tight end defense is allowing an average of 6.8 receptions in the last 4 games, 58 yards per game to tight ends, and 4 tight end touchdowns. They've actually given up a lot of touchdowns to the position last 4 games. So that is my optimism with Gadsden, a touchdown. I think it is possible. It's not a guarantee. Not going to pretend like it is, but if there's one player I think has a decent matchup this week, it is Gadsden. But he's been playing like shit. Herbert doesn't quite look to him as often, and maybe it's just game plan specific. Maybe it'll pay off this time, but given his recent track record, I don't have him ranked high enough to tell you to start him. I think it's risky. However, it is enticing. I think a touchdown is actually not the worst bet among Chargers pass catchers with Gadsden. But beyond the touchdown, will you get more than like 30 yards? That I don't know about. So with it being a risky play, I think ideally I'm going to bench Oronde Gadsden. But I do think if there's one player we're not expecting to go off, it is Gadsden in this game. However, for the Texans, I think the dark horse long shot is Joar Jordan. I'm not totally convinced that Woody Marks is fully healthy. He will play. Woody Marks is active, but Joar Jordan has been contributing and getting some consistent looks. Actually looks good last 2 games. So Jordan's tempting, but not a safe play. If Woody's active, not going to start him in this matchup. Very tough. Tough spot against the Chargers. Then we got CJ Stroud as a clear sit. I don't want him. I don't think he's going to pay off at all. If he ran the ball more, I might be interested, but Herbert, I think, is the only appealing option in this game. And Herbert, I am also telling you, more likely to bench. So no thanks with Stroud. He's outside my top 20. Vidal is banged up. I don't think it's worth it. Not a good matchup here. Harris, more involved lately, but just not enough. Not going to trust him at all. And then Higgins, I don't know what it is. He has a good connection with Davis Mills. He was playing better a month ago. Not looking too good as of late. I do not think Jaden Higgins is a good start. Christian Kirk, also a bad start. Same with Nick Chubb, possibly behind Joar Jordan, so absolutely bench him. And then Xavier Hutchinson and Jalen Noel, they don't even play half the time. So that's it for this game. Those are my start sits. I want the Texans and Chargers defense. I want Hampton in my lineup. I'm going to trust Nico. It feels a little bit tough, but I'm going to trust Nico. And then I also think Dalton Schultz is in a good spot. I think Schultz will have a good game. In terms of yardage, I think he'll go over 50. So I want Schultz. Everyone else, I think, is a major liability. And even Woody Marks, Justin Herbert, and the receivers for the Chargers are pretty tough. Not trusting them too much. Who Hames with a very good point here. Trey Harris is starting to emerge, and that is definitely impacting Oronde Gadsden quite a bit. Gadsden has not quite been the same last month or so. I think matchups play a big part, but definitely Trey Harris starting to emerge also plays a factor. But that's going to be it for this game. I would like to get to your questions, but they're not piling up. So in the moment, I'm just going to pivot to the afternoon game. We have a second game. Let's talk about that one as well. Don't want to waste too much time, but we got the Ravens and Packers game here, and I think it's pretty straightforward because of the quarterback situation. I don't think I'm going to trust too many players beyond the running backs. This game I don't think is really that exciting for the sake of fantasy purposes. I'm really worried that we just don't know what's going to happen because the quarterbacks are not going to be active. We have Jordan Love ruled out with a concussion. That's a big problem. Malik Willis is okay, but not as good as Love, obviously. And then Lamar is also not going to play either. He's doubtful. He didn't practice at all this week with a back injury, and they are going to go to Tyler Huntley. So I don't know exactly how this offense is going to pay off. It's been definitely diminished without Lamar. Don't know if you can hear that meow in the background. My cat's going a little bit crazy. Anyways, no Lamar, no Jordan Love. So let's talk about what I think will happen. The Ravens defense is getting a little bit better lately, but they have also kind of fallen off last couple weeks. It was starting to dip into bad territory in like November, and then they've kind of given up last few games. So for quarterbacks, it's totally neutral. I'm not going to downgrade Malik Willis too much, but also not fully trusting him. He's kind of banged up. Against running backs, it's also neutral. So let's stick with our gut there, not bench Jacobs, no clear reason to. And then for receivers, it's actually a really good spot. Top 6 this season. If you actually look closer in the last month, I believe they ranked number 1. I want to confirm that. I have it written down. Yes, in the last month, the Packers... Oh, right. They're right here. Let's just stick with Baltimore. Sorry, the cat is kind of throwing me off in the background. But the Ravens are a good spot for receiver. I don't know if I trust Malik Willis, though, to know who his top target's going to be. And then versus tight ends, it's a bit tricky. Bottom 10, but in general, you're not trusting Luke Musgrave. For the Packers against tight ends, it's a bottom 12 matchup, number 22. But Andrews is not quite playing well lately, so that's tough. For Green Bay, their defense against receiver, though, does rank as the best matchup last month. Last 4 games, they're allowing just shy of 40 points per game. And for that reason, even with Huntley, I think I'm going to trust Zay Flowers. This matchup is the best in the last month against receivers. Their secondary is ass at the moment. The running back position gets a brutal spot here. Bottom 4 matchup on the season. And that's where maybe I'm a bit panicked. But honestly, I don't think I'm going to care. I think I'm going to trust Derrick Henry. But quarterback is a bit tough. On the season, it would rank 22nd. However, in the last month, it's up to number 5. It's actually a top 5 matchup in the last month. So that's enticing. That's tempting, but against Tyler Huntley, gonna need some rushing stats. Not sure I trust it, to be honest. So in terms of players I'm starting, it's kind of straightforward. Let's stick with Derrick Henry. I know it's not a good matchup here, but he's been playing well lately. I think they're starting to commit to him more. And even though they went away from him late in the game, he did have 20 points last week. He was pretty good. And with the backup quarterback, I assume they run the ball a little extra. So I'm going to trust Derrick Henry. I want him in the lineup. And then I also told you that Zay Flowers gets a really good matchup here. The Packers have given up the most fantasy points to receivers in the last month. So even though it's the backup quarterback, Flowers has been really safe all season. Actually a good floor every week. So I think he's a legit start. Maybe not like top 10, but I do have it in my top 20. I do believe Flowers is worth it. This matchup is really good right now. Jacobs, I am worried about given his injury status, but he was removed from the injury report this week. He was full in practice. And while I do think Emmanuel Wilson still factors in, we're in the fantasy championship. If you made it this far with Jacobs, I think he needs to stay in the lineup. I don't think I can bench him. Especially with Malik Willis, I assume they'll give him the rock a little extra. On the goal line, when they need to convert, I think it'll be the Jacobs show. Not as much of a passing game in goal-to-go situations. So that's where I'm trusting Jacobs. The touchdown, I think, will save you. The matchup is neutral, so it's not a downgrade. I think Jacobs will be fine. Am I worried? Yes, he's not fully healthy, but I do think he's fine in the lineup. The defenses are very tempting. I have them as legit flex plays, but they're not in my top 10. And because of the backup quarterbacks, you would think they'd be good, but I'm not quite sure. The Ravens, I think, have slightly more to play for Their season's totally on the line. However, I really don't know how this game is going to go. I picked the Ravens to win, so that's my tiebreaker, but really I have them both back to back. And the Packers are missing Micah Parsons. They're not fully healthy, and I think they're a bit more toothless at the moment. So the Ravens still have good playmakers. Will they step up? Lamar's not going to play, and the vibes with him are bad. So perhaps they just quit on the season. Maybe they don't really care for the playoffs anymore, but I really doubt that. They're professional athletes. They still have a shot to advance, and I think they'll show up. But I could also see it blow up in your face. I don't think they're the safest starts, but once I'm done with this graphic here, I'll show you all my rankings. I have them outside the top 10, but inside the top 15. But the Packers, I would have one spot behind them. I think they're also just as tempting. Not ideal, but in the flex conversation at defense. Christian Watson, I think, is still the most appealing Packers receiver, but not convinced he has the connection with Malik Willis to fully trust. I also think this matchup is deceptively tough at times. Like Marlon Humphrey could all of a sudden show up and limit Christian Watson, but that connection with the quarterback is the main problem. I would like to trust that he'll show up, but I just don't. I just don't know that the ball is actually going to go in favor of Watson. He's the most dynamic, best athlete, but I think his connection with Jordan Love is far superior than his connection with Malik Willis. Last week, we saw Romeo Doubs actually have the best connection, so he's the interesting option, but I still think Watson's more athletic and more appealing. The upside is strictly tied to touchdowns. If Doubs does not find the end zone, I don't think he'll pay off at all. So I'd be embarrassed to start Doubs. I think if he does work out, you're just getting lucky. It's really not my cup of tea, to be honest. So even Watson scares me quite a bit. He's not inside my top 35 receivers. I'd be trying to bench him, but he is my highest ranked Packers receiver in the low end flex territory. Ideally, he's on the bench, but maybe you're in a super deep format. Maybe you're desperate. Watson is my highest ranked Packers receiver, but I do think both quarterbacks are interesting long shots. There's a world where they both give you like 40 rushing yards and do pad the numbers. There's a chance you also get a rushing touchdown and it really works out. But my preference here would be Malik Willis. That Ravens matchup has been easier than the Packers matchup. However, lately, the Packers are also giving up quite a few points. So this one's just a gut call. What's going to happen, I don't really know. But I do think Malik Willis is more appealing than Tyler Huntley. There's just more upside, in my opinion. They both run the ball. But Malik Willis looked like the better passer last week. But he's also dealing with a shoulder injury to his non-throwing arm and did miss practice on Tuesday. But I think he's good to go. I don't think I'm going to fade Malik Willis too much. Just not going to trust him in my lineup if I don't have to. In Superflex, I do rank him top 20, but he's not a clear, elite play. I have him literally at QB 20. So good luck there. I have Huntley right behind him at 21. I'm benching both of them, though, in a one quarterback league. I'm also benching Andrews. I don't really trust him with Huntley. Lately, his yards and catches have been down. I don't really know what to make of this tight end room. I don't trust Andrews. You need a touchdown. I don't think it's the best bet. I think I'm going to pass. The matchup is bottom 10 for Andrews this week. So I'm going to tell you to bench him. I just don't trust him. Keaton Mitchell not getting enough volume to start, but sometimes is a vulture. Could see him find the end zone and ruin Derrick Henry's day, but not going to bet on it. Not going to start him. Also not going to start Rashad Bateman, but he's active at least. He is playing. That does help their offense a little bit. And then Jaden Reed, I think, is the odd man out in Green Bay at receiver. I think I trust Doubs a bit more. And then Watson, I think, is more talented. So Reed could play well, but his connection with Willis, I think, is not worth trusting. And then Emmanuel Wilson still gets involved. Jacobs isn't healthy, but need a touchdown. I doubt it's going to hit. I'm going to trust Jacobs, not Wilson. Musgrave, I'm also going to bench against the Ravens. Fuck that shit. And then both quarterbacks that are typically the starter are also inactive. Lamar's not going to play. Neither is Jordan Love. So that's it for this game. We're starting Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Zay Flowers. Otherwise, the only somewhat appealing options would be the defenses. But speaking of that, let's pivot to my rankings. I'm going to show you every position kind of quickly. And then if you're members only, I'm also going to post them for members only. You can access them. You don't have to take a screenshot. So let's start at running back here, where I'll just point out the players in this game and then respectively where they rank towards everyone else. I do have Derrick Henry in my top 12. I have him at running back 12. Not in the top 10, but definitely a safe start lately. I would keep him in the lineup. I do think he's going to play well. I do think he's a good player to trust. I don't know if he's going to be like 20 points again, but I do think from a floor standpoint, I would expect a touchdown. I think he'll be fine. I think you're getting double digits with Derrick Henry. But Omarion Hampton, I think, has a decent shot at a touchdown. Good usage with Kimani Vidal kind of banged up. So I have him at 19, and I think he's a legit starter as well. But otherwise, I'm a bit worried. I don't have Jacobs too high. I have Jacobs right behind him at RB20. The injury to Jacobs' knee is a problem. Jacobs is just not fully healthy, and the volume is kind of low. You're very reliant on touchdowns with Jacobs right now. He's splitting touches with Wilson. However, he will play. So to fully bench him, that I'm not going to say. But at RB20, he's not a lock in the lineup. I am telling you to start him, but perhaps you have the depth where perhaps he is not going to fit. I think Kenny Gainwell and Jalen Warren are going to have a great game, so I think the Steelers running backs are more appealing. Obviously, Achane, but Achane's ranked pretty low given his quarterback situation. I love Genty this week against the Giants. I think Genty's going off. Everybody else in the top 12 is pretty obvious, but it looks like Travion's going to play, so I rank Travion higher. I think Travion has a great game against the Jets. And then Kyron is in touch split with Blake Corum, so he's a bit low, but still worth a start. And then DeAndre Swift in his touch split with Monangai, kind of similar, worth a start, but lower in the top 20. So Jacobs at RB20, I wouldn't start him above any of those guys, but I am still ranking him high enough in the top 20 where he is a start consideration. However, a bit worried about it, not going to lie, not feeling too hot. But otherwise, the only other player would be Woody Marks today. The only other player I'm considering at all, and he's in the lower end flex territory. So this one is the real question. Are you willing to trust Woody just on volume alone? That Chargers matchup is tough. So Woody, not ideal low end flex. And I'll just leave this up for a few seconds or so, give myself a break from talking. If you need it, you can pause it and you can make those lineup decisions accordingly. I'm going to take a sip from the coconut water. So yeah, those are my ranks at the moment. If you are in here, if you've been watching, we got 82 people, 15 likes. I'd appreciate if you hit that like button for me. That would be nice if some of y'all can drop a like. But these are the running back ranks. Let's move on to wide receiver. And as I answer your questions, I'll pull them back up later on. But let's not waste too much time. Let's go to receiver here. And the players I'm going to trust, I really only think Nico Collins is the safest. Nico Collins and Zay Flowers are the only two I have in the top 20. I'm going to start Nico. I'm very worried about the Chargers matchup, but ultimately I'm not going to fade Nico too much. You have to have some faith with these studs that you drafted. Nico, I would assume, still plays pretty well. I see some really high upside for the receivers I rank higher. So even though he's ranked at wide receiver 15, I still think Nico is fine. Flowers, I have right behind him. That matchup is just so good against the Packers right now. I'd trust him a lot more if it was Lamar under center, but even with Huntley, I think he can get the ball. He can give you a lot of yak, and I think he'll be fine. I think if there's one Raven that's finding the end zone, I think it would be Zay Flowers. I think he's going to have a good game. I like the upside a lot. That matchup is pretty good. The Packers have given up 39.5 fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position in the last 4 weeks. Typically, the majority of that is going to go to Zay Flowers. So I like him a lot. I think there's 20-point upside this week, but definitely a bit concerning given the QB at the moment. Otherwise, though, I don't think there's another very clear start at receiver in Saturday's games. I have Quentin Johnston ranked at wide receiver 33. That is kind of low when you think about it. That's a low-end flex. Probably not a player I'm dying to start, but I do see some upside. He has played very well lately, and typically when Herbert's looking to chuck it deep for a touchdown, it is often going to Quentin Johnston. He's the main deep threat. So QJ, I think, is the most valuable of the Chargers receivers, but right behind him, I do have Ladd. I think it will rotate between the two, and to guarantee a touchdown with either is very tough, but I think Ladd could still play well. He did play very well last time he played the Texans. However, I don't think they're the safest bets. QJ here at 33 is not that safe. I'd rather go Godwin. I'd rather go Tet McMillan against the Seahawks. That's a really bad matchup. And then I also think that Pittman, Downs, and Pierce, all three Colts receivers, are actually more interesting. I'd rather go with any of the Colts wideouts against the Jaguars than the Chargers receivers. Wandale also gets a good matchup, so he's in the same tier. And then everyone I rank in the top 25 is worth starting. But it looks like Devontae Adams is going to be doubtful. So despite him being pictured here, odds are he's not going to play. So kind of remove him entirely. I would rather go Quentin Johnston than Adams at the moment. I made these last night. And this morning, I saw that Adams is doubtful. So good luck with them. But really, it's going to be tough. The next ranked player is Christian Watson. And that speaks to my trepidation on receivers today. I don't think Watson's the safest play against the Ravens. I just don't know where the ball is going to go, preferably in Malik Willis' target share. It could definitely pivot to someone else, and I think if it works out with Watson, you're kind of getting lucky. So good luck with that, but I still think he's the most dynamic and appealing. Keenan has some contract incentives that I think will hit, but we still have 2 weeks left, so maybe not like clearly today. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think I want to trust him. I think Keenan's a big liability today. Otherwise, though, Romeo Doubs is the only ranked player in my top 52, and he's really low on the list, like barely top 50. I don't really trust Romeo Doubs. So at receiver, today is not really like the day I want to be trusting most guys, but if you have Nico and Zay Flowers, let's lock them in to the lineup. Definitely top 15 in my opinion. So those are the two I want. Otherwise, good luck with anyone else. And now let's move on to quarterbacks, where I don't really want to trust anyone today. I don't think quarterback is the play today. I really don't. No quarterback really excites me. The matchups are all bad. And then the only good ones are for backups that we barely ever see on the field. So Herbert is the one I rank highest. And I think that's kind of just some Chargers bias, to be honest. I'm going to the game. I think Herbert will win. And I think his rushing stats keep him this high. But he's behind Rivers. That should be saying a lot. I think I'd rather go Kirk Cousins against the Rams than Herbert against the Texans. That matchup is terrible. I think if anything, I might be ranking Herbert like 5 spots too high rather than 5 spots too low. Herbert scares me a little bit, but I think he's good enough where he will play okay and give you enough stats. I don't think he'll give you 4 interceptions. I think he'll give you at least 1 touchdown. And then I also think he's going to give you like 30 rushing yards. I think he will contribute on the ground. So decent floor, but no like elite upside. It's not going to be like last week against Dallas. Definitely not the same as that Cowboys performance. So Herbert at QB 17, good luck with that, but I'd rather just bench him. Malik Willis at QB 20, also just rather bench him, but who knows? Maybe the rushing stats also do work out for you, but I don't know about that. That's pretty tricky. And then Huntley, I have him right behind. Also runs the ball, so that's the reason why I have them ranked above CJ Stroud. I have Stroud at 22. Stroud just doesn't run the ball. If Stroud gives you anything more than like 15 rushing yards, you are getting lucky with Stroud. And it's usually just because on one play, the defense just like completely forgets that he can scramble and there's just nobody spying him and there's just so much wide open space. That's the only way. He goes over 10 rushing yards. So Stroud, I wouldn't bet on it. I think the Chargers will have his number. I'm expecting more turnovers from Stroud today than from Herbert. I think Stroud could throw at least 2 picks and maybe even a fumble as well. I don't trust Stroud at all against the Chargers defense. They will kind of resemble the Eagles game. I think this could be as turnover prone of a game as that Eagles game on Monday night a few weeks ago. I do not trust CJ Stroud. So that's it at quarterback. Really, the QBs I'm trying to start. Obviously, Josh Allen, Stafford, and May against the Jets. Those, I think, are locks. Those are the top 3. Burrow against the Cardinals. I want him. Definitely, I trust him. We got Dak, who already played. Maybe not as good as I thought, but still went over 20 points. Lawrence in the top 6. Should play very well against the Colts. That defense shouldn't scare you at all. And then Purdy, if he had Kittle, I might rank higher, but without Kittle, that's a bummer. So falling down the ranks a little bit at QB 7. I think Caleb, though, goes toe-to-toe. I think that game is a massive shootout. So Caleb is in my top 10. I also want Bo Nix, but he already played. He went over 20 points. This rank, I think, will age well just over 20, usually in the top 10, but not better than QB9. And then Jalen Hurts needs to run the ball. I don't know about that against the Bills. Should be fine, but I don't think he'll be elite. He's okay. He's fine. Dart against the Giants, I think will run the ball a lot. I think he'll play pretty well. Cousins against the Rams, that's a great matchup, top 7. I think he'll throw some touchdowns. Brissett usually has a great floor, but in the rain, who knows, the Cardinals might play like shit. Baker, not fully healthy, not stepping up lately. So low in the top 15, but a flex candidate for sure against the Dolphins. And then Darnold at the Panthers, not the best matchup for him. I don't think I'm dying to start him, but I also think he'll be okay. Roughly 17, 18 points is my projection. But Rivers is the last quarterback I'd rather go with than Herbert. Rivers against the Jags gets a good matchup. He looked pretty decent against the Niners. So those are my quarterback rankings. I'm Gigantor is asking no Bryce in the top 28. Nah, I'm going to fade Bryce Young. Against the Seahawks, I'll pass on that. I think they're just going to save their offense for next week. I don't want Bryce Young this week. Not my cup of tea, to be honest. But that's it at quarterback. Let me pull up tight end now. We got 2 more positions left. And tight end, I'm only trusting Dalton Schultz this week. I have Schultz ranked in the top 10. I think Schultz has been too good this year to fully fade. So I do think Schultz is a fine start this week. I have him behind Hunter Henry. And I did have Jake Ferguson ranked above, who scored a touchdown at least. At least that was okay. But I have Schultz in the top 10. At tight end 9, I think he'll be fine. The Chargers, I think, will give up another 50-yard game to tight end. So he is someone I'm telling you to start, but to be honest, I have more excitement about Taysom Hill, who had 12 rush attempts last week on top of 4 catches. Taysom, I think, is too involved in that offense against the Titans in a good matchup to fade. Taysom's a cheat code now that he's their RB1. I still prefer Taysom, but Schultz in the top 10, I think a very legit safe floor play. I would start him, but I do have Gadsden like just outside the start territory at tight end 16 and technically 15 because Jake Tonjes is only ranked here if Kittle doesn't play. So technically he's my tight end 15, but a touchdown's a little tough to bet on, a little unreliable in my opinion. Otherwise though, I'm not starting Mark Andrews. I don't trust him even with Lamar Jackson, so not going to trust him with Huntley. Not an ideal matchup either. And then I also don't trust Musgrave. He's not inside my top 28 at the position. So maybe if you're super desperate, you're interested in Gadsden, but to be honest, I think you can get a better option off the wire. I think Tonjes is going to have a good game if Kittle doesn't play, so I might rather just go with him. But Strange, I have ranked higher. Good matchup against the Colts. I think a touchdown is not the worst bet. Okonkwo has been really stepping up. I like Okonkwo a lot, actually. He's a very safe option right now. A.J. Barner also getting a lot of targets. I think he's pretty safe. Juwan Johnson pretty safe as well with the injuries to the Saints receiving core. He is a reliable floor play. And then Loveland, I love the upside against the Niners this week. Rome's not going to play in that game. Is going to be a shootout. I like Loveland for the upside. But Schultz has a very reliable floor. I'd start Schultz above him. Henry, though, against the Jets has elite potential. I do like Hunter Henry. The top 6 are pretty obvious. We got Taysom with some rushing stats. Goddard, always elite upside. Pitts is playing well. Fannon's not fully healthy, but his volume's too high to bench. If Kittle plays, you got to start him, but it's Sunday night, so handcuff him to Tonjes if you need to. And then McBride, I do think is still the tight end 1. So those are my tight end rankings. Start Schultz. I think I would bench Aranda Gadsden, though. But Blue Line with a super chat here says Lawrence or Mayfield have Gainwell, Walker, Dowdle, Jalen Warren, and Jacobs need to start 3. Also, A.J. Brown, Nico Higgins, or Diggs start 2 full PPR. Okay, at quarterback, I'm going Trevor Lawrence for sure. Definitely prefer Trevor Lawrence. But then at running back, we need 3 of them. We're going to go with Gainwell, Jalen Warren, and Josh Jacobs. I'll start those 3, Gainwell, Jalen Warren, and Josh Jacobs. And then at receiver, you need 2. We're going to go with A.J. Brown and T. Higgins. Those are my picks at receiver. A.J. Brown and T. Higgins, Lawrence at quarterback, Gainwell, Jalen Warren, and Jacobs at running back. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. But last position before we can move on is defense. And these are my defensive rankings. I think if you have the Broncos on Thursday, you had to start them. The Patriots against the Jets are the best play left available. But I have the Chargers at 3. I like the Chargers. That Texans offense looked like shit against the Raiders last week. And the Chargers forced turnovers. I know people don't believe that the Chargers are actually this legit, but the reason why they're 11-4 is because their defense, it will play well against the Texans. This is a revenge game after last year's wild card loss. The Chargers will play well. They'll step up on defense. I like them a lot. The Texans offense is not good enough. So trust the Chargers. I want them in my lineup. I think the floor is very high. The Steelers against the Browns, also a pretty no-brainer play, top 5 for sure against Shedeur Sanders. I picked the Browns to win, but that's for the sake of like trying to pick up games on y'all in that video. You're still starting the Steelers defense. Even if they lose, it'll be a low-scoring game. The Steelers against Shedeur Sanders are a good start. The Saints against Cam Ward and the Titans, that's a good start as well. I would rather go with them over Houston against the Chargers. Maybe you believe the Texans will force a shit ton of turnovers again, but they're not catching 4 picks in my opinion. And I think against the Chargers, that offense is better than the Browns offense and the Titans offense. That's why the Texans are just number 6. But I am telling you to start them. I think they're just viable as well, just not as elite as the Chargers. I think the Chargers win the game. If I thought the Texans would win the game, I would flip them. But it's still in the top 6. They're a fine start. I still expect at least 2 turnovers from Houston. The Seahawks against the Panthers, though, that's a little tricky on the road. I could see some garbage time or like potentially some high scores there. That one is a little tricky, but a talented defense as well. The Browns, I think, will still step up in division. I think they're also top 10. The Lions, not as good as I thought, but against Brosmer, it was an interesting proposition. The Cowboys, I also ranked top 10, and then everyone else, I'm telling you to bench. But I do have the Ravens at 13, so just outside the start bubble. In a 12-team league, that's not a defense I want, but they're not terrible. They're okay. The Packers right behind them, that's going to be a very close game. So if you need them in a pinch, they're fine. But to be honest, I'm trying to grab the Saints if I can, the Chargers, the Steelers, even the Browns, I think are more valuable than them. The Titans, I think, are also solid against the New Orleans Saints. The Titans aren't going to just roll over. And then the Rams against the Falcons, that's also an interesting defense. So good luck there. Those are my defensive rankings. And that's going to be it for the main broadcast overall. But before I move on, there is one last graphic I would like to share. And it is related to Underdog. So this is gambling related. We are an Underdog sponsored channel this year. And what's going on? Huh. I'm trying to pull it up. Here we go. Promo code BLUNT for new customers gets you $75 in bonus funds when you play your first 5. Promo code BLUNT, the link is in the description. And that is a pretty sweet deal. I'm not sure how long it's going to last after the new year. I doubt it'll go away until after like the Super Bowl, but you never know. Come January, it might be less in terms of the bonus. They started off with 50, then they upped it to 100, and then they pulled it back to 75 earlier this month. So get it while you can. New customers, play 5, get 75 in bonus entries using promo code BLUNT. The link is in the description. And if you're interested on how to spend that first 5, this is my entry for today's game. A little bit big, so let's zoom out a little bit. Here we go. These are my picks. I'm going to the Charger game. So I am strictly betting on this game. I'm only looking at the Chargers and Houston game. And the lines I like, I hit the higher on all of them. The projection on Dalton Schultz, I think, is too low. If you wanted to scale his yardage, they don't give you another one until it's like 60 yards. I think he's going to go over 50. I think Schultz will have a solid game. The Chargers defense has allowed an average of 59.5 receiving yards to tight ends in the last 3 weeks. Since their bye, they have been vulnerable to this position. It's a good spot, actually, in the last 4 games. So I believe Schultz will be the only tight end viable. I think he will give you a 50-yard game. I like Schultz to go over 41.5. I think Hampton is also going to contribute in the receiving game. I think their run defense will be good, but Hampton does get check down passes, and Vidal being injured, not 100%, definitely boosts the value on Hampton. So give me Hampton to go over 11 receiving yards. As long as he gets a second reception, I think this will hit. If he only catches one, then obviously we might get burned with less than 10. But I think if he gets a second catch, he will go over 11 yards. But you never know. He could catch it behind the line of scrimmage and maybe burn us. This one is a little bit tricky, but I do believe it'll hit. The Houston defense against running backs, let me pull this up. On average, in the last 4 games, has allowed 34 receiving yards per game to the running back position. 34 yards per game on average to this position. I believe most of that will go to Hampton. So I think he'll get 15. I think he will go over 11. But this line I wish was 9.5, not 10.5. I'll be honest with you. This one is a little bit tough. Not going to lie. The Herbert rushing yard, I think will hit. Herbert's been running the ball very effectively. It looks like Huhames likes this a lot. And in general, Herbert is typically going over this number. But I will acknowledge the Texans' run defense oftentimes doesn't give up that. In the last 4 games, there have been 3 instances with less than 6 rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. But a lot of that is matchup driven. If you go back in the season when they play mobile quarterbacks, someone like Jackson Dart or even like Brock Purdy, Actually, I don't think Purdy played against them. Here's the thing. They have given up like 7 instances with over 20 rushing yards to quarterbacks. There's like multiple games on their game log where quarterbacks ran for 36 yards, 35, 33, 59 even 3 weeks ago. So I do think a player like Herbert, who is mobile, can capitalize. I think Herbert will go over 24 rushing yards. I was tempted to go with 30, but I don't think that's wise. I'm going to stick with just the baseline 24-yard projection. I think he'll hit the higher on that. But Stroud, I think he'll turn it over. I don't think Stroud will not throw an interception. So give me a pick on Stroud. I think that Chargers defense is just too good, and they do force turnovers. I'm going to trust. There's a pick for Stroud. Oddly, the payout on this was better than just 1-to-1. It was actually an extra 6% in terms of the payout on this. I assumed it would be below 100%. It was actually 106x in terms of percentage. So that was surprising. The underdog projections aren't actually expecting an interception, but very close to 50-50. That one I think will hit. I think Stroud will throw a pick. Gadsden, though, this one is truly very risky. And if it wasn't for the matchup stats, I wouldn't tell you it's worth it. But the Texans have given up 4 tight end touchdowns in the last 4 games. This, I think, is the position where you can maybe get past them in the red zone. 4 touchdowns, last 4 games, hopefully turns into 1 for Oronde Gadsden. So this is the pick. I also have a 60% profit boost token. That is very, very nice. Extra 60% in bonus funds if this hit. But our original multiplier was 39.7. It's up to 61.4. And then to show you the full payout, let me scroll down. If all 5 of these hit, our entry would pay out $307 on $5. So that's worth it to me. I mean, it's definitely risky. I would tell you that the ones I'm most concerned about are the Gadsden touchdown and the Hampton receiving yards. But Herbert, I think, is also a little bit risky, but I think it'll work out. That one I think will hit. The Stroud one I think will hit as well. And then the Schultz one I feel very confident in as well. So let's hope Gadsden scores a touchdown. As long as that happens, I think the other ones have a legit path for success. So hopefully I'll make $300 this evening, and wish me luck. These are my picks this afternoon. So that's it. Those are the picks. And now I'll just get back to all your questions. I appreciate your patience. And Scar is saying, help please. Steelers or Seahawks defense? We're going with the Steelers. I'll take the Steelers against the Browns. That's my preference. Also, start Cameron Dicker or pick up Borregales. No, you're starting Cam Dicker. 100% give me Cam Dicker tonight. But back to Bjorn's question. I think I answered this, but we're going with Gainwell and Warren. We're starting both Steelers running backs, Bjorn. And then the two receivers I'm going to start are Waddle for the volume. And I mean, Devontae Smith is clearly like the safer play, but like if you're just swinging for the fence, given Gibbs played like shit, I genuinely think Kyle Williams will have a good game. No joke, I think Kyle Williams is like the big swing. In DFS, I think Kyle Williams is actually very tempting because the Jets are always a good matchup. May's going to play awesome. And then there's no Kayshon Boutte. There's also no Mac Hollins. And Demario Douglas, neither is Stephon Diggs. They're just not the deep threat. Kyle Williams might have like an 80-yard reception for a touchdown. I think Kyle Williams is like the swing for if you're desperate. But really, like realistically, we're going Devontae Smith and Waddle. Like those are the safe plays. If you're just trying to chuck it because you really don't think you're going to win, Kyle Williams would be my swing for the fence. But good luck there. I don't think I'll go Kyle Williams. I'm probably just going to go Waddle and Devontae, Gainwell, and Warren. Anyways, not going to go Mumford. Let's avoid Kanata Mumford. Watasha International says, yo, I'm playing Parker Washington this week because Sauce Gardner is back and probably shadowing BTJ. Same as last week when Surtain shadowed BTJ. Good luck, man. I don't know if it's the safest bet, but I do understand the logic. Personally, that's just not my cup of tea. I don't think I want to risk Parker Washington. But I know last week was awesome. Good luck, man. I hope it works out for you. I sure hope it works out. Bjorn says, yo, you got to leave for the game and get them pictures. Yeah, I'm leaving in about an hour. So I got some time, but I also want to shower and change. Got to pick up my sister as well. I'm trying to get there early because I got really close. I got good seats, and I want to see the pregame. I want to see the pyrotechnics and all the players come out. I'm so excited, man. Can't wait. Rajan says, Gibbs killed my finals. Now that Burton's back, do you still trust DJ Moore and Loveland? Yes, I still trust DJ Moore. I still want Loveland as a top 10 play. Loveland, I think, is still... That Niners game is going to be such a big shootout, man. I really believe it. Ben Johnson's not going to hold back. They're going to play really well. That Niners defense let Rivers look really good. Caleb's going to play really well. I want DJ Moore. Definitely trust him. And Loveland, I still think is top 10 at the position. Huhaim says Pollard or Christian Watson. Yikes. I'm going to go Pollard there. That's the thing. Like, Christian Watson has the upside, but I just don't know where Malik Willis is going to favor throwing the ball. I just don't trust Watson for more than 5 targets, even if Love was the guy. And then, it just might not hit. Pollard's playing really well, and the Saints don't scare me too much. I'm going to go Pollard there. I like Pollard quite a bit. Cody Welch has Flowers over Higgins and Waddle now that Jackson isn't playing. Yes, I do have Flowers above Waddle. I mean, to trust Quinn Ewers is not that much safer than trusting Tyler Huntley. You know what I mean? Neither quarterback's good. And then T. Higgins is going to play against the Cardinals. Joe Burrow's going to be lights out. So give me T. Higgins for sure. I have him ranked the highest, and Flowers I do trust over Waddle. Flowers just been too good this year. Too consistent, too safe. Flowers, every time I've worried about, proves me wrong. Flowers is a good play. I'm going to trust Flowers. Really good matchup against the Packers. Give me Flowers and Higgins, definitely, over Waddle. But Bjorn says, yeah, Gibbs, unfortunately, did play like shit. That was sad. That game was very disappointing to watch. But Arav says, 1 running back, 2 receivers, 1 flex. We got Hampton, Warren, and Hendo. I'm going to go Hendo. As long as he is active against the Jets, that's the best matchup you want. Definitely Hendo at running back, but only like 1 spot above Gainwell and Warren. It's very close there. I'm going to go Hendo over Warren. 2 receivers between London, Evans, Wilson, and Devontae. I don't think I can fade Michael Wilson these days. Just don't think I can go against it. So I'm going to go London and Michael Wilson at receiver. Evans, he's just not 100% healthy, Like that's my reluctance on Evans. And shockingly, the Dolphins matchup is tough. So I have them all ranked in the top 15. I don't really want to be benching Evans, but among these 4, my top 2 are London and Michael Wilson. But you also need a flex. So are we going Evans or Jalen Warren? That's a really good question. I'm not going to go Devontae. I don't think I'm going Hampton either. If I have Jalen Warren, I'm not going to go Hampton. I'll go Jalen Warren. Against the Browns, I think it'll work out. Evans is really good, but I think Jalen Warren has like elite upside. Warren's really stepping up. I have Warren ranked at running back 15, and then I have Evans ranked at wide receiver 14. They are so close, man. Trust your gut on this between the two. I wouldn't fault you at all for not taking my advice, but personally, I think I'm going to go Evans. No, I'm going to go Jalen Warren. I'm going to go Jalen Warren. I keep flip-flopping. I'm going to go Jalen Warren at the flex. Give me Hendo, Jalen Warren, and then London and Michael Wilson. Tough call. Also, should I play Goddard before Kittle or pick up Tonjes? I think I'm going to pick up Tonjes. I still believe Kittle will play. I think Kittle will play. But if he doesn't, you're so fucked. So I'm going to pick up Tonjes there. But if you want to go Goddard, I don't blame you at all. But personally, I'm going to risk Kittle and pick up Tonjes. Tonjes has been good. Tonjes has filled in for Kittle pretty nicely. The Tonjes touchdowns hit very often behind Kittle. So good luck there. I'm going to go Tonjes as a backstop for Kittle. Mark Twain says CD and Sutton are killing me. Good luck, bro. This is a tough week, man. It's quite often that like you have to, you feel like you have to start your studs, and then a lot of them fucking don't pay off. Like that's the thing about week 17. Like the idea of starting your studs often doesn't work out. There's a lot of times where it just doesn't work out. But it's like if you bench them and it doesn't and they blow up, you feel so bad if you made the wrong choice. That's the problem with like fantasy at this stage of the game. Like sometimes it's better to play the matchups. It makes a lot more sense. But you would just hate yourself if you benched the stud and he went off. So good luck, man. Sad that CeeDee Lamb didn't play lights out. Mark Twain says have to start Jacobs now and go for upside over Corum. I get that. I don't think I'd go Corum over Jacobs, but I have them close. I definitely have them very close together. Angus says Bucky or Flowers. I'm going Flowers. That Packers matchup is just too good, Angus. Packers have given up 39 and a half points per game to wide receivers last four weeks. Their secondary is trash at the moment. Green Bay's average stat line for opposing receivers is 13 and a half receptions for 187 yards. And then in the last 4 weeks, the Packers have given up 9 receiving touchdowns to wide receivers. Give me Flowers over Bucky. I would assume that Sean Tucker is still a problem for Bucky Irving. I'm going Flowers over Bucky. Noah Rivera says, please pick 2 running backs in 1 flex. I have Kittle on the flex for now. Hampton, King Henry, Carter, Stevenson, and Tonjes. Okay. 2 running backs and 1 flex. I'm going to stick with King Henry, and then I'm also going to go with Amarian Hampton. I'm not going to go Michael Carter. Fuck that. I know the Bengals matchup is good, but I'm not trusting Michael Carter. And then Travion, I think, will play. As long as Travion is active, I'm going to bench Stevenson. If you tell me that Travion is inactive, though, he's a game-time decision with a concussion, still possible, then I would definitely go Stevenson over Hampton. So a contingent start on Hampton, absolutely start King Henry. But if you tell me that Travion doesn't suit up, then I will go Ramondre Stevenson over Omarion Hampton. But Hampton plays today. I guess you don't have that luxury. In that scenario, I'm not going to wait on Stevenson. I'm going to go Hampton and just accept my fate. Sadly, you might miss out on an elite play with Stevenson. If that's the case, then I'll plug in Ramondre over King Henry, to be honest. But both of them play today. You just don't have the luxury. So I'm going to start King Henry and Hampton. My understanding is that Travion will play, and that's why I'm not going to go Ramondre. At flex, you have Kittle right now, and I'm going to stick with that. I think Kittle's a better flex play than everyone. BTJ against Sauce Gardner could be a problem. So while I like Brian Thomas's upside, I think if you have Tonjes, I'm just going to stick with Tonjes as the backup plan for Kittle. If Kittle's active, he can give you 20 points. Kittle, I think, is the best flex that you have. So good luck, Noah. I'm going King Henry and Hampton today, and then sticking with Kittle if I have to pivot to Tonjes. That's the move. But I guess if you get word that Travion is inactive, then you can also bench Kittle for Ramondre, and that is also a good plan. But I think ideally we're going Tonjes instead of Kittle. We're gonna hold with Kittle, in my opinion. But good luck. I wish you the best. And then Bjorn says, sadly, probably last month, enjoyed your work and stick with the studs. Thank you, Bjorn. Appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the Blunt Rotation. Appreciate that a lot. And yeah, appreciate everyone sticking in the that's watching right now. We got 87 viewers. Yo, that's trippy to me. Like if I live streamed a couple months ago, highest I remember seeing is like 45 people. So that is awesome. Y'all have doubled it. I really appreciate y'all watching at the moment, chilling with me. And maybe before we go, we do a quick draft on Underdog just to have some fun. But Kate Arch, first I'm going to answer all your questions. Has a PPR need a receiver and flex from AJ Brown, weather concern. Myers, Swift, or Woody at tight end. Loveland or Hill with Kamara out. Okay, need one receiver and one flex. I'm still sticking with AJ Brown, my man. I'm still gonna stick with AJ Brown, and then at flex, I'm gonna go DeAndre Swift. Hate the matchup for Woody Marks. Myers a little tricky given it's kind of crowded these days. Swift will find himself in a shootout, no doubt, against the Niners. Gonna trust DeAndre Swift and AJ Brown. Not gonna panic on the weather with AJ Brown. And then at tight end, you have Loveland or Taysom Hill. I'm gonna go Taysom Hill there. Give me Taysom Hill. The RB1 in New Orleans is an excellent play at tight end. Oscaros is Godwin or Burden. Let me check my ranks. I kind of forgot about this one. We got Godwin ranked higher. Godwin I have in the top 35. Burden I have at 38. I'm going to go Godwin there. I trust him a little bit extra. But Burden's tempting. Burden is interesting. I would understand going Burden. But personally, I think I'm going to go Godwin. I think Godwin has a safer path for a touchdown. But if you told me Burden is more reliably getting you like 60 yards, I also wouldn't doubt that. I would say Burden has the higher floor, but I do believe Godwin has a higher shot at a touchdown reception. That's personally how I feel about it. So right now I rank Burden lower, but they're very close. They're only like within like 4 or 5 spots of each other. So kind of the same tier. If you have a gut call on Burden, go for it. But personally, I'm going to go Godwin. Who Haim says Stroud good at running if he allows himself to. Yeah, that's the thing. He doesn't really choose to do that often. I doubt he's going to run for more than 15 yards this afternoon. If he goes over 10, I'd be a bit surprised, to be honest. But Meter Reader says, Adam, what if they sit Stafford early Monday night? They're not going to sit Stafford, bro. They're not sitting Stafford. They have a path to the 1 seed. They're not going to sit Stafford. Stafford has the chance to win the MVP. That would be insane if they bench Stafford. That'd be ridiculous, bro. That's not going to happen. Don't even worry about that. Shadow Days Gaming says, how many field goals attempts do you think Dicker will have? I think he'll have 3. I think he'll score 3 field goals. I believe the final score is going to be something like 20-17, 23-20, something like that. Like, expect 3 field goals from both kickers. Odds are that's I think what will happen. So I want both kickers in my lineup tonight. I think they're both great. And James Grover, thank you for the super chat, my friend. PPR, Hill or Schultz? 1 running back, 1 flex from Hampton, Stevenson, Pollard, BTJ, or Tet. Tricky thing about this is full PPR, because if it was half PPR, I'd tell you Taysom Hill vehemently. But I do think Schultz is going to catch like 4 or 5 receptions and also give you like 50 yards. So I think Schultz is a very safe play for like 9 points. Taysom, will he catch more than like 2 receptions? That's a bit tough to expect. But given his role as the RB1, I still think I rank him higher. I would still expect more volume in total to go to Taysom. So I do think he'll have more yards than Schultz. Like from a yard standpoint, I think Taysom's going to give you like 75, 80 yards. 45, 50 on the ground, and then another 20 to 30 in the passing game. I really believe that. So I do rank Taysom Hill higher, I could also see the Chargers just really limit Stroud, and this is a very low scoring game. Meanwhile, that Titans game I think is going to be pretty easy to move the ball for the Saints offense. So very close, but I think the safer play is Taysom Hill. And a touchdown, I think, is the main reason why I'm not going to start Schultz. Schultz is very rarely giving you touchdowns. So even in full PPR, I think he's a very safe 9-10 point play. But I think Taysom Hill is also going over 10 points. I'm going to go Taysom Hill, but it's super, super close. I get it if you don't agree with me. But personally, I would go Taysom Hill there, even in full PPR. But at running back and flex, we're going to go Hampton. Sadly, we can't wait for the Travion concussion protocol, so I'm going to assume that Stevenson is the backup and Travion is active. I'm going to bench Stevenson for Hampton. But then in the flex, I'm going to go Pollard there. I'm a bit worried about Brian Thomas Jr., just a little bit. It's very close. Meanwhile, Pollard's been playing great. As long as Sauce Gardner's active, then I think I'm going to bench Brian Thomas Jr. for Pollard. Tet, I'm definitely benching for BTJ. Stevenson, I think I'm benching for Pollard for sure. However, I suppose if Travion is ruled inactive, then you could swap out Pollard for Stevenson. So, yeah, there's a contingent decision here. If Travion doesn't play, then flex Ramondre Stevenson. But at running back, start Hampton. And then assuming that Travion is active, Stevenson I'm going to keep on the bench. I'm going to start Pollard tomorrow. Give me both running backs, Hampton and Pollard, with a contingent plan on Ramondre. Good luck, James. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. But let me get back to your questions. Bjorn signed up for 50 wild cards yesterday. Shit, man. Good for you, bro. I hope it pays off. Every time I go like high volume on one of those DFS drafts, I don't make my money back. Like, I'll hit on some, but most of them just lose money. The way I like to do it is I'll draft like two or three. And that way if one of them hits, I'll usually break even. But there's also the world where if like 10 of your 50 are awesome, then they could all finish paying out elite. And that's definitely a path for success. But personally, I haven't had success whenever I go heavy. I don't have the bankroll. That's just my own situation. But that's dope, man. That's awesome to hear. Good luck. Huhaim says, Booty and Mac Hollins out. Williams feels decent. Yeah, man. Kyle Williams, like, just on name value, it's gross. But, like, when you really think about the process against the Jets with only Diggs and Pop Douglas factoring in, I guess Hunter Henry as well, Kyle Williams is a player they're trying to develop. Kyle Williams is really paying off down the field lately. I like Kyle Williams' upside quite a bit. But King Gavila says Schultz or Brenton Strange. We're going Dalton Schultz. Definitely a safer play in my opinion. Good, decent matchup right now against the Chargers. I think 50 yards is a decent bet for Schultz. But Strange could find a touchdown. I think it's possible, but I'm going to trust Dalton Schultz. I have him ranked a tier above. Alexa's asking if I can show you the cat. I apologize, but she has finally calmed down. She's sleeping in the corner over there, and I don't want to piss her off. She was there at the top of the video. If you want to rewind to the beginning, I think you'll see her like in front of the curtain. But not going to disrupt her. I don't want a meowing spree in the background. So apologies, but nope. Not going to pull her out. Not going to piss her off. But Stafford or Allen? I'm going to go Allen there. I would like to tell you Stafford, but I just don't think I can do it. Against the Eagles in some bad weather, I would trust Josh Allen. The rushing stats will be there. Give me Josh Allen over Stafford. But Stafford's my quarterback too. They're both great. They're both going to be awesome. Good luck, but I'm going Allen. Rajan says, should I start Schultz over Loveland? Yes, I would. I have them back to back. I'll pull up my ranks actually. Not that. Here we go. These are my tight end rankings. I got Schultz one spot above Loveland. Super close, but I'm going Schultz over Loveland. I trust Schultz's floor a lot more. But A+ is prayer circle for Jacob's knee. Have to ride with him. Good luck, man. I think he'll be okay. He's been ruled active. He's going to suit up. But, yeah, could definitely just not play either. Or just not play well. He is going to play. Have to start him because he's going to play. Chib says choose two. We got McConkey, Trey Tucker. I'm not going to go Trey Tucker. Ricky Pearsall or Chris Godwin. I'm going to go McConkey and Chris Godwin. Definitely not Trey Tucker. Pearsall is interesting, but he just keeps getting hurt. And other than like one game in the last like 3 months, there's really no upside with Pearsall at all. He's been playing like shit. So I could see some shootout potential for him, but I think Godwin's much safer. And then I don't trust Trey Tucker. Give me McConkey and Chris Godwin, but yikes, man. Tough spot to be in. Good luck, but I don't trust Pearsall enough here. Let me show you my receiver rankings just to prove it real fast. These are my receiver rankings. We have Ladd ranked right here in the top 34, and then Godwin 2 spots above him. So those are my two. I have Pearsall down below inside the top 50, 2 tiers below. Pearsall's down here, and then Trey Tucker's not on the list. I'd rather go Lockett among Vegas receivers. With Geno, Lockett has a connection, but I'll take Ladd and Godwin. Good luck. Chib. And then Taco, a.k.a. Snoopy. What 3 quarterbacks would you go with? Stroud, Young, or Shuck, Willis? Or would you flex Kyle Monangai instead of one of these in Superflex? We're going... Fuck, these are bad options, man. I'm going to go with Shuck and Willis as my top 2. And then I'm going to flex Kyle Monangai. Yeah. You start 3 quarterbacks in this league? What is it, like an 8-team, 6-team league? That's wild, bro. That's interesting. But, here, I'll show you quarterback rankings. I don't like any of these guys, man. Not high on any of them. But Shuck against the Titans, I think, is the best play. Willis, I think, is also decent against the Ravens. Stroud against the Chargers, no thanks. And then Bryce Young, I don't even have ranked in the top 28. I don't want Bryce Young at all this week. So I would go Kyle Monangai as the 3rd flex play. Yikes, man. That's tough. Good luck. But give me Shuck, Willis, and Kyle Monangai. Chib says Drake May or Caleb Williams. Expecting a shootout for Chicago. I like the shootout potential, but with no Rome Odunze, I'm going to go Drake May. Against the Jets, I got to go Drake May. Drake, I have it QB3. Give me Drake May there. But Rinem says Trey Tucker or Burden. We're going to go Luther Burden. Luther Burden for sure. High shootout potential. I like Luther Burden quite a bit. Here, I'll put that there. But Homeway Investment says morning in a standard league need 2 running backs, 1 receiver. You have Kyron Williams, Hampton, or Travion Henderson. I'm going to go with Travion and Kyron. And then at receiver, we got Diggs, BTJ, or Igbuka. We're going to go Stephon Diggs there. Give me both Patriots against the Jets. That's a good spot for sure. And then I believe I prefer Kyron Williams over Hampton. Yes, I have Kyron 2 spots above Hampton. A bit tricky with Blake Corum, but against the Texans, I'm going to fade Hampton. Kyron, I think, will be okay against Atlanta. Give me Travion Henderson, Kyron Williams, and Stephon Diggs. Those are my preferences of the 3. Best ball and call. Always a pleasure to be a part of the blunt rotation. Speaking of which, let's take a rip from the pipe. It's time. It is time. Let's go. Love it. But I can only stay for another 10 minutes. I got to hop in the shower and leave pretty soon for the Charger game. So let's go rapid fire. We're going to answer every question before we log off. We got A+ says, do I sit Loop because Lamar is out? A kicker question, man? I don't know. Sure. I really don't know, man. I don't want to answer this kicker question. Just stick with Loop. Fuck it. Hey, I really don't know. I really don't know. K Darch, have fun at the game. Thanks for the comments. Appreciate you, man. I cannot wait for this game. Howard Rose says PPR flex play Tracy, Michael Carter, or Waddle. Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy against the Raiders. Chib says Woody Marks or Michael Carter. We're going Woody Marks there, but I don't feel good about it at all. Yikes. But give me Woody Marks. Alexis Kimball says Loveland, Strange, or Tonjes, either position. We're going to go Loveland, I think. That way, if Kittle is out, you can pivot to Tonjes. If you're telling me Kittle doesn't play, go Tonjes. But at the moment, I'm going to go Loveland so that you have an option on Sunday night. We're going to start with Loveland. But if Kittle is inactive, go Tonjes. How can I do a super chat? There are options down below. There's a picture of a dollar bill next to the chat. But you can also just drop a comment, no problem. Eric Joaquim with a super chat says half PPR Hill or Strange, defense Chargers, Saints, Ravens, or Cleveland. Okay, we're gonna go Taysom Hill. I really like Taysom Hill this week. I'm very high on Taysom. He's the RB1 for the Saints. Give me Taysom Hill for sure. These are my tight end rankings as a reminder. But also defense Chargers, Saints, Ravens, or Cleveland. I prefer the Chargers. I believe in LA. I am a Charger fan, so if you don't agree with me, go New Orleans. I think the Saints are also very safe, but I'm going to go LA. I think their defense will force some turnovers on the Texans. I believe it. I really think their defense will be good. But thank you, Eric, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Is it up on the... There we go. There it is. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Back to your questions, though. Bjorn says if it was 15, but I better win, but I think it's rigged from the bets. Good luck, man. Good luck. Rajan says I'm losing, but here's my last question. T-Law or Purdy for a fighting chance? I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. That Colts matchup should be a high-scoring game. I like Purdy a lot, but if Kittle's not going to play, then that's where I'm going to go Lawrence. I would like to wait to know on Kittle, but I think it's not worth it. If Kittle is inactive, I don't trust Brock Purdy as much. So I'm going to go Lawrence. He's been too good lately. I'll trust him against the Colts. Meter Reader says, why do you have Evans over Jennings? Just wondering. Opportunity. Yeah, I mean, like, Evans is just still, like, a stud. Like, I still just believe in Evans. But Juwan is talented. You know, like, it's hard to fade either. But I do believe that Evans is still a stud. I think they're going to send him off well. I think against the Dolphins, he's going to have a good game. Because their season's on the line. Like, if they don't win this game, then the Bucks have no shot to make the playoffs. So I believe Evans will get double-digit targets. I think just like 2 weeks ago, he'll step up. I know last week was bad, but I like Evans still over Juwan Jennings. RP McMurphy says Woody Marks or Blake Corum. I'm going to go Blake Corum there. I prefer Blake Corum over Woody. Terrible matchup for Woody. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Best Ball. Bjorn likes it as well. No worries, man. No worries at all. Smoke it if you got it. Meter Reader, hell yeah. Go Chargers, baby. They're gonna win. I think they can go to the Super Bowl. Like no joke. If they win today, it's confirmation. But I really believe the Chargers are a top 4 team. I think they're gonna be in the AFC Championship game. I don't know about the Super Bowl, but if you make it that far, you can make it to the Super Bowl. Anyone has a shot this year. Why not the Chargers? Eric, thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck. Chad Markley says, happy PPR Marks or Sampson. I'm going Dylan Sampson there. I assume Sampson will play. I believe he's healthy enough, and Marks gets a terrible matchup. So give me Dylan Sampson. I think it's worth the risk if he's inactive. I don't think it'll happen. I believe Sampson will play. So give me Dylan Sampson. And then Homeway Investment says, do you think the Jets will rest Hendy or limit his snaps? I assume you mean, will the Patriots rest Henderson? I do not think that's going to happen. They don't need to risk playing him against the Jets if they're trying to save him for the playoffs. What are your thoughts? I mean, I might be just like completely clouded in terms of my judgment because I have Henderson in best ball and I need him to win to have any shot at having like any decent payout. So that's possibly like where I stand on this, where I'm just like clouded. My judgment is just so fixed on needing Henderson in best ball to have any shot at making money. But I genuinely believe he's going to play. I really don't think he's going to sit out. I don't see why. He's a rookie. Like, are they going to mix in both? Yeah, but like Henderson just needs one touch. He can score from anywhere. I want Henderson. As long as he plays, I want him. I think he will play. I really don't worry about it enough. Game starts in 3 hours. You don't tailgate? Nah. SoFi is a tough spot to tailgate. The parking at SoFi is so expensive. And also I'm going with my sister, who's not a football fan at all. Nah. I'm going to get into the stadium in advance, and I want to watch the pregame. I want to see the players warm up. I want the pyrotechnics and all the, the smoke and shit. Like, I'm not going to just get drunk and outside. That's just not my vibe. Tanu says Jacobs, Pollard, to Gainwell in the flex. I'm going Jacobs. No, actually, I'm going Gainwell. Give me Gainwell. Yeah, 100% Gainwell. Almost forgot I ranked Gainwell much higher. Let me show you running back rankings real quick. I think it'd be fun to tailgate. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not opposed to tailgating, but I don't think SoFi is the best stadium to do that. It's just not the vibe I've seen. And also, like, I've got other stuff to do. I don't have the time to spend all day at the game. Like, I got to do this. I got to make some other videos later. I just don't have the time. Also, LA has terrible traffic. It takes me a while to get there as well. So, yeah, I just don't have that much time to waste tailgating. Like, if I was going to tailgate, I would have been there like 2 hours ago, and I wouldn't be able to do this. Like, priorities. But it would be fun one day to do it. But not with the channel. What I'd love to do is go to like Lambeau Field, like a historic stadium, something like that, and tailgate with like Packer fans for something. Like that I feel would be awesome. It wouldn't have to be Lambeau, but like a context like that. With SoFi, I just don't think it carries the same weight. That's my 2 cents on it. But Bjorn says, when you lose because they miss by half a yard, I hate that. Yeah, man. There's been some close calls in best ball. It sucks when you have a team that finishes like within 2 points of like the threshold to get paid. Like yesterday I had 3 teams that scored like 60 plus, and they all needed 66 to pay out. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? Bummer. But thank you, Rajan. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chad. Angelo said Stafford could sit. Stafford's not going to sit. No fucking. He might sit next week because that's what McVay does in week 18, but he's not going to sit when they have a shot at the division. Why the fuck would they sit? Like, he has a shot at the MVP. They might sit him in week 18, but now week 17. I don't understand this argument that Stafford could sit. I think that's just being panicked. I wouldn't believe that. Homeway Investments, thanks, brother. Enjoy the game. Appreciate you, man. And it is a beautiful stadium. I gotta say, every time I'm there, I feel invigorated. Just like walking up to it and being in it. It's a nice place to be. But okay, now it's 10:30. I said we might do one draft. Let's try and hop into one. Let's try to hop into one. Then I'll log off. I promise I'm not going to stay for more than 10 minutes. So, here we go. These are my picks. A reminder on my picks. We got Gadsden touchdown, Schultz for 42 plus yards, Herbert with 24 rushing yards or higher, Stroud with a pick, and Hampton with 11 in the passing game. But let's go to drafts. Let's go to the Wildcat. I'm going to do a Wildcard 6-person draft, $3. If you want to hop in, join right now, hit that button. I'm on a minor delay, but about 5 seconds. I'm hitting the button now. Hit it right now and join with me. If you want, only if you want. We are full. I was the last person in this lobby, so if you wanted to, you might be in a different one. Good luck. We got top fantasy plays. We got the 101. That's cool. They're at number 2. Rough Mupp at number 3. Pete Rose, 44 at 4. I rose 11 at pick 5, and then JT Moolah at pick 6. I don't recognize anyone, so if you are in here with me, let me know. But last part of the stream before we log off. Morgan McCoy says Hampton, Gainwell, or Henry. Already started Harvey in my RB2 spot. Hampton, Gainwell, or Henry. I'm going... It's so close for me between Gainwell and Henry, but I'm going to go Derrick Henry. I could see Gainwell go off, but I'm going to go Derrick Henry. Tough that you can only have one. You already started Harvey. I get it. But this draft begins now, and I'm just going to go... It's tempting because I really want Trey McBride here, but I think I'm going to pass. Trey McBride, I think, is totally worth the 101. JSN could be worth it as well, but instead I'm going to go running back. I want a running back. I'm going to go James Cook. I don't want Achane without Tua. He plays like shit without Tua. Saquon's tempting. Taylor's tempting. Even Jempty's tempting, but Cook, I think, is the ultimate, like, clear, safe RB1. Could have definitely gone JSN or Chase there. Obviously can't go wrong in the top with the top pick, but I'm going to take running back with my first pick. Against the Eagles, I think it'll work out. Who Hames says receiver depth pretty bad this week. I have a flex and RB1 open. If you also have a flex, go Gainwell. Gainwell 100%. Gainwell and Henry. Those are my two. But I think we can piece it together at receiver. I don't think it's the end of the world at receiver. I have not done one of these, so maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm sure that team at 3 is happy to have JSN. So we gave them a gift. It's okay. Let's just assume that JSN is not the piece you need, but if I can get Olave here, I'll take Olave. I also think T. Higgins is pretty interesting. Olave goes. I want a team with Drake May, though. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go Drake May. Am I sure I want Diggs, though? Am I sure? Nah, that's not the stack I want. Yeah, I'll go T. Higgins. The Bengals defense is really banged up right now. Bengals have some big injuries on defense. We're going to go Drake May and T. Higgins. You could definitely ask why not stack T. Higgins with Burrow. I'm going to stack differently. I think T. Higgins is going to have a good game, but I think Drake May will be better than Joe Burrow. And we'll stack up Drake May with someone else. Gotta pivot. I've been trying to do teams that, like, are not my gut instinct lately. Because every time I just stick with, like, my first and most obvious selection, those are the teams that just don't pay out. Like, whenever I make money on this, it's teams that I'm like, oh, this is just a crazy pick. This is just for shits and giggles. And the next thing you know, that's the fucking right call. If I had gone with what ADP told me, I'm not doing it correctly. So we'll go with Drake May. Could have definitely gone Diggs for the stack, but I'm going to go with someone else for stacking a bit later. But he was full in practice. Questionable. I think he's going to play. Ramondre going right behind him. Please make it. I'm trying to go heavy on Patriots. I would have liked Hunter Henry, not going to lie. Kind of sad that he gets sniped, but odd to see him over Harold Fannin. That's crazy to me. Really? That's wild. All right. We're going Fannin at tight end. Much rather have Fannin than Hunter Henry, even with the stack, but give me Fannin. And then Travion Let's do it. We need another receiver. I know exactly where I'm going. Um, Lulu says, I'm stuck, bro. I have running backs Carter, Corum. Hold on. Let me pull your comment up. Lulu, I have running back Carter, Corum, wide receiver Waddle, Pierce, McConkey, Wilson, Harrison, tight end Hill, Parkinson, flex, a leftover, kicker, Little versus Pinero. Thank you. I mean, I'm not really sure how many you need of each position, so you don't have to super chat, but let me know how many of each position you need. At running back, though, give me Blake Corum 100%. Give me Blake Corum here. And then at receiver, I'm going to go Michael Wilson and Jalen Waddle. Actually, I might go Alec Pierce. It's really tempting to go Alec Pierce. But I do rank Waddle above Pierce. But for upside, I think Alec Pierce is actually more tempting. Tight end, you have Hill, Parkinson. We're going to go with Taysom Hill at tight end. Kicker, we're going Cam Little. And then you need a leftover at flex. So I assume you need one of each and then one extra at flex. So give me Blake Corum at running back. Give me Waddle at receiver. No. Give me Michael Wilson. I'm sorry. Let me make this pick, and then I'll just lay it out all on the line. Here we go. Here's the plan. Kyle Williams, baby. Give it to me. Kyle Williams. That's our Drake May stack. We got Drake May stacked up with Travion and Kyle Williams. We got Fannin, T. Higgins, and James Cook. Let's let it ride, baby. Let's go. That's the team. The Kyle Williams stack is our path for glory. But okay, running back already have Bijan. Receiver, tight end, flex are up for grabs. Purdy did me good last week. Okay, totally understand. Give me Michael Wilson at receiver. Give me Blake Corum at running back. Give me Taysom Hill at tight end. And then for upside, despite my rankings, my gut says go Alec Pierce. If like you're trying to get the highest fucking score, give me Alec Pierce over Waddle. Alec Pierce is just like so dynamic. I think he's worth it. Give me Alec Pierce there. But if you want to play it safer, like if it's full PPR, Waddle should be okay. The volume will be fine. But I think a touchdown, I think, is a little more interesting for Alec Pierce. His connection with Rivers just looked too good last week. So, fuck it. I'm going to go against my rankings. Tell you the less safe play is Alec Pierce at flex for upside. So, Corum, Wilson, Hill, and Alec Pierce with Cam Little as the kicker. Meter reader likes Pinero. Pinero is definitely one of the good ones to have, but you can get a 60-yarder from Cam Little that covers you. That's my only preference on Cam Little. But Teresa says, do you like Tet McMillan or Christian Watson? I'm going to go Tetero McMillan there. Worried about the quarterback situation with Malik Willis and Christian Watson. I'll go Tet over Christian Watson. But this is the team we ended up with. We took Drake May at quarterback. We have James Cook and Travion Henderson. We have Harold Fannin, T. Higgins, and Kyle Williams at receiver. Team 2 went Burrow and Jamar Chase. Never a bad plan. Has Olave as well with Bucky Irving and Tyrone Tracy, Michael Mayer. I like the Mayer pick, but I'm not too fond of the Bucky pick, nor Tyrone Tracy. To be honest, I don't like the running backs on Team 2. But you never know. I could be dead wrong. And then Team 3 has Brissett with JSN and Evans. So only stacked up with Michael Carter. Don't love that. Travis Etienne and Mike Evans. Not bad, but I wish the team has a little bit more correlation. I wish there was a stack different than Michael Carter. I don't like the Carter pick at all from Team 3. Feel like they had a great run and then just didn't land it. But who knows? Maybe I'm also dead wrong. Team 4 has T-Law unstacked. We'll see how that goes. But Trey McBride at the tight end, Ashton Genty at running back. That's pretty dope. A.J. Brown, never a bad choice. Michael Wilson, good value there. Wow. I like that pick a lot. Good value. And then Tet McMillan, not bad. Bit more of a floor play, though. Could be fine. I don't hate Team 4. Team 4 is not bad. For an unstacked Trevor Lawrence, not bad. But I wish that Tet McMillan pick was a Jaguar. Not going to lie. And then Team 5 has Josh Allen, Achane, and Chase Brown. I got to be honest with you. I don't like Devon Achane at all this week. Doesn't have a good record without Tua. But Chase Brown, not a bad play ever. That's an elite play. Jacoby Myers, not bad. Khalil Shakir for the stack. Interesting. That'll be interesting. And then Juwan Johnson. Why not go Taysom Hill? But okay. Yeah. I don't hate Team 5 either, but Achane I don't like as the first pick. Otherwise, I think it's fine. Team 6 goes Hurts with Devontae and Barkley. That game could be a massive shootout, so also tempting, but kind of feel like it's... Oh, also has Goddard. So, yeah, just needs that game to go off. Taylor against the Jags. Actually doesn't play awesome against the Jags. And then Diggs should play well if Kyle Williams doesn't steal his thunder. Team 6 is pretty good, but maybe a bit heavy on the Eagles. S62, Juwan Johnson or Darren Waller. I'm going Juwan Johnson there. Lulu says, thank you all. Going for bronze, not first, but it's my first time playing and learning / watching football. It helps that I like numbers and ending up loving all this. I know if you're a bit of a statistician geek, this is like the perfect game for you. But Teresa says, thanks, Adam, for all the year. I'm depending and going for the championship. Yo, Teresa Palmer. Very impressive. Let's take a hit for Teresa. It's crazy, but Josh Allen or Drake May, so I appreciate you. Eee, that's tough. That is tough. I'm going to take this hit and then get back to you on that question. I think I'm going to stick with Josh Allen. In bad weather, Allen is just so good. But Drake May is my quarterback 3. Super close, but I just don't think I can bench Josh Allen. In the fantasy championship, I don't think I can bench Josh Allen. I love the spot for Drake May, but I can also see a world where it's just an elite game from the running backs of the Patriots. And I think there's a world where Drake May gets vultured by like 3 rushing touchdowns from the combo of Travion and Ramondre. That is the reason why I'd go Allen over May. With Allen, like, yeah, there's a world where James Cook vultures you, but in general, that's not going to happen as often. If anything, Allen's going to be rushing for touchdowns against Jalen Hurts. Like, I could see Hurts and Allen go back and forth on rushing touchdowns. So I'm going to go Allen. I worry that the matchup is just so good for running backs against the Jets that those touchdowns might go away from Drake May in the passing game. So give me Josh Allen. It's super close, but I think I'm going to trust Allen over May. Aiden, Schultz, or Loveland. We're going to go Dalton Schultz in full PPR for sure. And then S62 with the last comment, past the Benjamin. I wish I could. I wish I could hand it to you right through the screen to take this last hit. I wish I could. But good luck, everyone. Let's just finish the bowl for good measure. But I got to get ready for the game. I got to go. We got Chargers tickets. We're not missing this. I'll see y'all later this evening. I'll go more in-depth on all my rankings in a later video. But if you want those rankings, rewind to the beginning. I'll drop the timestamps before I log off. But one last hit. Noli moly, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the subscription. Appreciate you. I have to go. I got to go to the Charger game, and I'm running out of time. So drop your question in any of the comment sections. Not in the live chat here. Go to the video itself. Scroll down and put it as a comment. I will answer your question in text, but I just can't do it right now if it's not here in the live chat in this very seconds. Morgan, I'm going... I don't know which Brown this is, but give me AJ Brown and DJ Moore. I'm going to say goodbye. Peace out, everyone. Enjoy the game. Look for me. I'll be on the left goalpost. I guess from the screen, it'll be this side. It'll be this side. I'll be behind the goalpost on this side of your screen. If you're looking at the Chargers logo from like your screen, I'll be on that goalpost right behind it. Noli moly, Texans or Steelers, weather affect Eagles. Give me the Steelers here. I'll go Steelers against the Browns. But that's it. Goodbye. Later. Peace out.